And here's the Beatty Historical Museum. It's inside what appears to be a church, an old church building.
My name is Jim Weeks, and I'm a volunteer for the museum here because I've lived here the majority of my life and I'm pretty familiar with the area. And this museum was created by three women who got together and decided they wanted to have a museum in town. And they gathered up a bunch of stuff, and a lot of people have donated things, and there's a lot of things on loan here that we do not own, but it's for the display of the people and so forth. This organ came from Scottish Castle, was donated to the museum by the people that run Scottish Castle. This particular building, the building over here behind us that we just came through, was a Catholic church. And over on this end, where this particular addition is right now, was the rectory for the Catholic Church. And when the Catholic Church shut down, the people that had the church, they rented the rectory to a man who was a genius with old-time radios. And he was in business for 40 years in Kansas City, and he came out here and he had all this equipment stuff to work on all these old radios and do all this stuff. And this is some of the equipment here. Right over here underneath, this is other equipment. And right now, the equipment and so forth is scattered around because we're renovating and we're trying to get another addition. And when we do that, we're going to get all this radio stuff together. But this cabinet right here houses a complete set of writer's manuals, which started with the first repair guides for radios and so forth back in the day. And there's a complete set of them there that he had. And so I brought him up to the museum after he died, and they got the museum going and had enough room for him. I brought that stuff up here. These wheels and this blacksmith stuff and everything came from the area between Rhyolite and Beatty. There was a blacksmith shop in Beatty, one in Rhyolite, and all of this stuff was in service to service wagons and so forth. And this was an old coffee grinder that was here. Here was another one. And jacks, different jacks, and that's a grinder that they used to sharpen bits and knives and so on. And then on the other side over there are the butter churns and so forth. And these are saddles from different people that brought them in and donated them from the area. And the stuff on the wall here, those are saws for cutting big timber and so forth. And there's an ox yoke, and you can see how the ox yoke works there by the picture on the wall. And then these desks came from the Beatty Elementary School. And we had those desks when I went to school here. So, I remember them well. And all of this stuff was stuff that was used in farm implements and to do cattle and so forth, dehorning tool and horse collars and what have you. This area here is devoted to Indian artifacts and baskets and arrowheads and different paraphernalia that the Indians used and did in this area back in the early 1900s and 1800s. This area here shows some of the pictures of the above-ground atomic shots that were conducted at the Nevada test site, which is now the National Security Site. And this is some of the equipment that was used to detect the radar, the radioactive waves and so forth. And these are what they call the apple houses. And this shows a time photo of what the nuclear shot did to that building when it went off, these two different buildings. And they did all this stuff. They built all kinds of things out there, railroad things and everything, to see what the nuclear shots would do and how to be able to build them to where they would withstand the nuclear blast. So that was what this was. These are different shots. This particular shot here was part of the Plowshare program, and it created what is known now as Sedan Crater. And the reason that they did that was they were trying to figure out how to use nuclear power to do constructive things like dig canals and bays and so forth. But naturally, it got so hot that they couldn't use it. So